Welcome to the Author Your Life podcast, where you can write a new script for your life and become the hero of your story. I'm your host, David McRae. You are the author of your life. Let's get started.
All you have to decide is what to do with the time that is given to you.
In my experience, there's no such thing as luck.
It is not our abilities that show what we truly are. It is our choices.
Before we launch into the podcast, I'd like to tell you about my book, Author Your Life, Become the Hero of Your Story. This is a book for people who are at a crossroads in life and want to make a fresh start. Judging by the fact that you're listening to this podcast, I suspect that you may well be one of those people. This book is going to help you to change your narrative and rewrite the scripts in life that are holding you back. This book covers the latest science and research showing you how to become the person you want to be and live the life that you want to live. I'd like to invite you to get this book not only because I feel it's a great book that's going to help you, but also it's going to support the podcast as well. I love podcasts, but sometimes all of those ads that you get can be really irrelevant and annoying when you just want to listen to a good piece of training or a good interview. So I therefore made the decision with my podcasts that number one, I wanted my podcast to be free so that everyone could listen to it. And number two, that I wasn't going to fund it through all these annoying and irrelevant adverts and commercials. Therefore, if you want to support the podcast and support all the things that I put out there for free, whether it be here on the podcast, my YouTube channel, other areas on social media, then buying a book is going to enable and help that process. So this is what we call a win-win scenario. By buying the book, you help to support my work and all the free stuff that I put out there, and you also get a really transformational book that's going to help you make those changes that you really want in your life. So if you feel you're someone who's at that crossroads in life, you're looking for a new direction, you're looking for a fresh start, then make sure you get this book. Author Your Life, Become the Hero of Your Story is available on Amazon in ebook, paperback, and audiobook. Whatever your preferred medium, it's there for you to go get right now. Hello, story changers, and welcome back to another episode of the Author Your Life podcast. In today's episode, we are talking about giving and receiving. And I'd like to share with you a story about something that I experienced recently. One of my friends who also, funnily enough, runs a podcast, posted on their Facebook, "Hi, I'm looking for my next round of interviews for my podcast. I'm looking for individuals in these particular fields. Does anyone have any suggestions for awesome guests that I could bring on the show?" Now, if you have ever seen a similar post like this on your Facebook feed, maybe you're also connected with other people who own a business or run a podcast or generally just ask for recommendations for people to do good stuff. What happens on those posts? You get a thread of self-promotion. And that is exactly what happened on my friend's post. There was people saying, "I would be a great fit for your podcast. Here's the things that I'm studying right now. Be really cool to connect with you. Let's chat. Yeah, if you need another guest, just ask me. Just ping me a message." All of those really tedious and annoying phrases and self-promoting BS. So I go onto that post and I say, "Hi, I know a few people in these particular fields." And I gave my friend a list of 5 really awesome kick-ass guests. A couple of them have been on this podcast. A couple of them are people who I'd like to be on this podcast, but I actually haven't had them yet. But nonetheless, my friend was asking for recommendations. And I knew some really good people who would be awesome guests in those areas on his show. So I post this on the thread and I go about and I start doing my work and getting engaged with tasks again. The next morning, I receive a message from my friends just saying, "Thank you. You were the only person who actually gave me recommendations. You were the only person who didn't use the thread as a self-serving way of marketing and messaging their own work. Thank you so much for these recommendations. I'll be following up with them." I also actually really admire the work that you're doing, and I think you would be a good fit for the podcast. Would you like to maybe schedule an interview sometime? Now, how about that? All of those people promoting themselves, and they didn't get a message like that. They didn't get invited on the podcast. When I recommended other people, I actually helped myself stand out, and that actually got me the interview because I didn't actually ask for it. Now, here's the really key takeaway that I want you to recognize from this story. I didn't look at that thread and say, everyone's trying to promote themselves, so I'm going to be sneaky and I'm going to promote other people. And then if I give my friends something, then they're going to feel obligated and obliged to me, and that is going to make them ask me to be on the podcast. That's not why I posted it. I posted it because I care about my friends. I respect their work. I actually enjoy listening to their podcast as well. And I knew people that would be a good fit for them. So why shouldn't I tell them about those friends? This is the principle of giving, and it's such a powerful principle in your relationships, not just in this business scenario that I had, but in all of your different relationships. If you look at the work of Adam Grant, who looks at the different reciprocity mentalities that there are, takers, matchers, givers, what Grant's research has overwhelmingly found is that across all disciplines and all professions, givers are more successful than matchers and takers. People who give more than they receive are more successful than those who do quid pro quo. They're the matchers, they give and receive equally. And the takers, who try to take more than they give. You've got to bring this principle of giving into your work too, and into your relationships as well. Now, why is this so effective? There's lots of different reasons why givers rise to the top and they're more successful, but I'll give you a principle that was really applicable in this scenario here. It's the idea of social proof. Social proof is a hugely powerful social psychological phenomenon. The principle of social proof is best explained if I give you a little bit of a scenario. So imagine that you're going on holiday and you're trying to find a hotel to stay in whilst you're away. There's 3 different ways that you could find out about a hotel. You could start browsing on your Facebook, and then suddenly a Facebook ad comes up. We see you're traveling to Barcelona. Come stay in our awesome hotel. We're great, we've got a spa, our staff are really friendly, our rooms are wonderful, they're really clean. That would be the first level of social proof, which would be promotion from the actual person or the actual entity themselves, in this case the hotel. Now that's the lowest level of social proof that you can have if somebody tells you how good they are. The next level of social proof is if you type into Google hotels in Barcelona and you go to a couple of different websites and you start comparing hotels, and you reach that same hotel and you look and you see, yeah, they've got a spa and they've got good reviews for their customer service, the pictures of the rooms look nice, the location is really suitable. That would be the second level of social proof. It's your assessment of them. So whereas before the hotel was telling you how great they were, the second level is if you can see for yourself how great they are and you make your own judgment and assessment. But actually the highest level of social proof is if you said to your friends, I'm going to holiday to Barcelona, does anyone know of a good place to stay? And one of your friends says, yes, I stayed in this amazing hotel. They had a great spa, the customer service was brilliant, the rooms were lovely, it was nice and clean. That is the highest level of social proof, because someone that you trust, someone in your close social circle, friend, has given you that recommendation. These are the different levels of social proof. If all that you ever do in your life is self-promote, whether that's in a direct business sense or in a more subjective sense, in a relational sense, in terms of you're always trying to impress people and get people to admire you and tell them how great you are, that's only the lowest level of social proof. Telling people that you're good. The second level of social proof is to allow people to make a decision about you that you're good. So this is just carrying out actions with integrity. It's being a good person. It's being friendly to people. It's giving compliments. It's smiling and being cheerful. Allow other people to make their own assessments of you. But the highest level of social proof is actually if people recommend you, if people talk about you, if they say, wow, John is just such a friendly, open, loving person. Wow, Jane is this incredibly kind and generous and loving human being. The way that you get that type of social proof, the most powerful form of social proof, is you've got to work on your relationships. You've got to build your relationships. And the way that people are going to recommend you is if you give to them and if you serve them. People don't like the self-promoters. People aren't going to recommend you if you're a self-promoter in any sense of the word. People are going to recommend you if they feel a warm relationship with you, and they'll feel a warm relationship with you if you give them, if you serve them, and you do everything that you can to help them and to be a generous, good, giving person. And that was the principle of social proof that I experienced in that earlier story. What I was doing was I was nurturing my relationship that I have with my friend who runs the podcast. I was giving them some recommendations. I was giving them some help to make their podcast a good podcast. Now, as I said, I wasn't doing that to try and get a favor later. I was doing that because I care about my relationship with that person. I care about who they are as a human being. I care about the work that they're doing. And that is a relationship that I want to nurture and cultivate because it's a relationship that both of us enjoy and get something out of. That's what all relationships are all about. That's why we want relationships, because each person in the relationship gets something out of it. They get that meaning, they get that connection, they get that engagement. So this is the principle of giving. And this is something you should be looking to bring into your relationships a little bit more. How can you give? How can you nurture the relationship? Because when you start to do that, you start to activate this form of social proof, that highest form of social proof, where people are going to start talking about you. And most importantly, talking about you in a good way, where they're going to be recommending you. They're going to be telling people about you. And that opens up all sorts of different opportunities and connections and possibilities for your life. So folks, I hope you've enjoyed this video today. I hope you've found it useful. As always, until next time, remember that you are the author of your life. You hold the pen and you can write whatever script you want for yourself. I'll speak to you soon. David.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode. If you enjoyed this episode, I'd appreciate it hugely if you could head over to iTunes and leave a rating and review for the podcast. With your review, please be as honest and detailed as you can be. Because with honest and detailed feedback, that helps me to adapt and grow this podcast to most serve you, the listener. Also, if you enjoyed this episode, then make sure you subscribe to the podcast. That way you aren't going to miss any of the future episodes that we've got lined up for you. Until next time, remember that you are the author of your life. You hold the pen, and you can write whatever script you want for yourself. So go out today and write yourself a beautiful story.